Want to welcome you to the next video in the series. In this video, we're going to install the resistors on the board. There's several different values of resistors, and they need to be, soldered in the right position, obviously. There's 3 capacitors in the bag, and we'll be ignoring those for now. I will keep the capacitors in the bag once the resistors are in so that we know where they are in the next video. So let's dive in and solder some resistors. So now that we have the LEDs all installed, I'm going to move on to the resistors, just in the order the manual calls out here. I am going to make a little bit of a change in the order I install the resistors. They go the 220, the 47K, the 270K, and then the 1K. I'm going to change the order a bit here just to make the video a little bit quicker and to make sure the important stuff's called out here. I'm going to start with the 270K here, step 7. There's only one 270K resistor. It should be, as it says, red, violet, yellow. And it's red, violet, yellow. You may be able to see here I've pre-bent all the leads. I'll include a link to this tool in the video description. It's a lead forming tool. You can drop a resistor in, bend the leads around, and get a better fit. The resistor ends up centered, etc. These resistors are all on 0.5 centers. So I've added my own labels to the tool here, but the 0.5 centers are along here. And there's various widths in here for the size of the body on the resistor. The 270K ohm goes down here in this corner, R1 270K. This is the component placement diagram that we supply with the kit along with the original. I'm going to work off this one. It looks better on camera and it's really easier for me to use. I'm going to go with the tolerance bands down in this build. So we have a 270K ohm resistor right here. And I'm just going to solder it up. Put on the soldering glasses. This resistor value is one of those critical ones. Get it wrong and the CP-A won't work correctly. Dogs are excited about something. A lot of police patrols. I've seen more police drive by today than I have seen entire time I've lived here. It is election night. I hope there's not something going on. So there's the 270K installed. In this case, I'm going to mark up the sheet here just to indicate it's done. So this resistor right here has been installed. Well, there's nothing going on outside. Apologies for stepping away briefly there. Going to move on to the 47K ohm resistors here. There's 6 of them in these positions. They are up here in this corner of the board, up here. There's 6 of them. Of course, they're marked here are 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, and 12. It should match identical to here, and it does. And they're 47K, so that's going to be red. What is that? Red, violet, yellow? No, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, 47 is yellow, violet, orange. Yellow, violet, orange. 4, 7, followed up by 3 zeros. So they're going to go up here. Again, they're on 1/2-inch centers. Again, I'm going to put them in with the tolerance bands down, which I'm not doing there. I have a habit of putting these in upside down occasionally. And part of that's not wearing the glasses I actually want to wear for soldering. Let's say there's 6 of them up here. Let me get these in and I'll mention something else here quick while I'm thinking about it. And I got that one in upside down even though I double checked it. This corner of the board's always done that to me. I've always ended up with at least one of these in upside down and I don't really know why. I guess maybe the yellow and the gold to my eyes look enough alike that perhaps I get them upside down. And of course, it's a non-polarized component. It can go in either direction. It doesn't matter. I just prefer it to be consistent across the board. I think it makes for a better job. So I'm just trying to flex leads here to keep these from falling out. I'm sure you can't see what I'm doing on video. Just to mention it, when I pulled the resistors out of the bag, there were 3 disc capacitors in here. These are the 0.001 and the 0.01 caps that are different from all the 0.1s on the board. They're in a separate bag for a reason. It's critical these go in the right locations, and that's why they're in a separate bag. So I think we can go ahead and solder up these. I've tried moving lighting around to decrease the glare on the board. And I actually haven't had much luck with it here today, and I'm not sure why. I'm going to solder up 1 lead on each resistor. A lot of traffic out there. Of course, it is a weekday, and probably about the time people start to come home from work. I'm going to take a look again just to see what those look like. These aren't flush here. I'm going to flush them up. Boy, that got hot fast. Ouch. And these 2 aren't flush. Again, I'm not following my normal kind of build process here because I'm on camera. And on camera always makes this a little more difficult to do. Straighten back out the other leads I'm going to solder. So like I say, these are 47K, 6 of them up here in the corner of the board grouped together, as indicated in the parts placement diagram. These are critical as well. You don't want to get a 220 or a 1K in here. They're used in timing for the CP-A to properly operate. I did one build where I got the wrong resistors in here. I actually inserted 4.7K rather than 47K. And that CP-A did not work out of, didn't work on first test, and it took me a while to figure out what I had done. And of course, with the right resistors, the CP-A woke right up and was absolutely fine. So that's those. We have you, and you. And we have, how many 1K? So brown, black, red, 1K, 9 of them. I know that there's one up here that's rotated 90 degrees from the others. That one can be tricky to find. The pads here for it are slightly larger than the pads around it. And it sits in there, like I say, it's the one oddball one on the board. And the rest of them are all down here. Again, I want the tolerance band down. And I'm going to do really every other one here to leave room for clearance for soldering. And then when these are done, I'll come back and put in the ones around them. There's a spot here on the board I will mention when I get these in, because it's another one of those easy to make mistakes that I've actually made. Oops, well, that didn't work so well. So with the 1K ohm resistors down here, there's 2 of them. There's 2 of them. And there's a diode, 1N914 diode, or a small signal diode that sits here. There's a square pad on the board that designates that as a diode, and it's really easy to accidentally put a resistor in that place there where the diode goes. It's just an easy mistake to make. So don't get caught up in that. Make sure that you don't put a resistor where that diode's supposed to be. Add some solder. And that diode is another one of those critical components to the operation of the board. If you got a resistor in there by accident, the board would not function, and that would be a potentially difficult problem to isolate and fix. I'm going to basically straighten up the other lead here on these a bit, just so it's a little bit cleaner install. I believe all of these 1 k ohm resistors are pull-ups. One side tied to +5, the other side to, in these cases, switches down here. And this resistor up here generates a signal called T5 in the schematic. T5 is just a generic 1K pull-up resistor for whatever needs a pull-up and can share that pull-up with other components. You encounter T5 in the schematic. It can be a little confusing until you realize what it is. Cut that one a little further into the solder than I would have liked. So that's got 5 of them in. There should be 4 more, and there's 4 more here. And you can see here by pre-bending these leads using the little jig, you can just get a cleaner install. It just looks a little nicer. You obviously don't have to use the lead forming jig. And there's other devices as well that you can use. I'm actually gonna, wow, dogs are just really excited. I'm not used to this much barking going on. I was gonna say there's one more. Where did it go? I've got large picture windows in the front room, and it's easy for the dogs to see out into the front and see everything that's going on and become very excited, as they often do. So I'm gonna reflow this one and push it down flush to the board. That's better. This should be the last 4 to get us 9 1 k ohm installed. Take a quick peek. They generally look okay to me. That one could be a little flusher to the board. This is just me being extremely anal. It doesn't matter if they're not perfect. You know, they don't have to be perfect. But a little cleaner build is always nice. And yes, it's hidden away in the case when it's all buttoned up and you can't see it, but you have that pride in knowing you paid attention and did a nice job. So yes, I'm shooting leads around here. And one of them I flushed up right here and left a little extra smidgen of lead poking down. So now we have 2 here, 2 here, 1 here because of the diode, 2 here, 1 here because that's the 270K there, and 1 up here. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now we're down to the 220s. Again, I'm going to leave the diode and those 3 capacitors separate in this bag until the assembly instructions call for us to solder them up. And these are the current limiting resistors for all of the LEDs. Every LED gets one of these. There's 44 of them. And that's what the step 5 here is install the 44 270 k ohm resistors. Remove a few here from the tape. I prefer to cut the leads off the tape because sometimes if you pull the leads out, you get glue residue left on the lead. And then when you insert the resistor, that glue residue can get caught in the hole on the board and make it a little bit tougher to actually get a good solder joint. So there's various places this resistor can go in here. You want to get it down to one where there's not a lot of slop right there. Bend your leads. Again on 0.5 centers. And we'll do, I guess we'll do these 5 together and we'll call this video done. Because the next step is just to stuff all the 220s. And of course, you don't have to follow the order I did here. I broke the order in the manual a bit here just so we could talk about the critical components. So there are 4 down here. Each one of these 4 LEDs has a current limiting resistor. 1 there. And again, these are in the parts placement diagram there. So maybe I can get him to go in. And you can also see that by pre-bending these leads, it does make it a little easier to get them in. I put in a lot of resistors in my lifetime just by eyeballing. And that's certainly adequate for most things. One of these is loose, and when I rotate the board over, it's going to move. Flex the leads here a bit. And I'll start with one of the ones over here. Gold down. And for all these out here, the pattern's the same. There's a resistor just to the right of every LED, all the way across the board. It's a little different layout in here because of everything that's got to be stuffed into the board. So if I can pick up the solder. I don't clean the tip enough. The flux in the solder helps release any corrosion, oxides on the lead and the pads, although these pads are pristine. And they help wash that away, and it ends up on the tip, and that's why you have to clean the tip, is the flux does its job and those oxides get removed. They collect on the tip, and oxide's an insulator. And so the more oxide you get on the tip, the harder it is to actually get solder transfer, solder transfer onto the board. So you do need to keep your tip clean. I don't do it often enough. But you know, it is what it is. We all have our process and our habits. I took a break after the LEDs. I recommend breaks. This board can certainly be done in one pass if you really want to, but I don't recommend it. So that starts to 220. You can see that we still have that many left to go. That's a lot of resistors. It's just really a matter of just stuffing these and soldering. And that'll move us through, say, 5, 6, 7, and 8, those steps. I'm not going to do the rest of these on camera. There's no reason to watch me bend leads and solder a bunch of resistors. So just to recap, 6 47K up here, 47K, yellow, violet, orange, 6 up here. A single 270K resistor, red, violet, yellow. Down here, standalone on this far edge. 9 1K ohm, which are the brown, black, red. There's the one up here turned sideways, that T5, here's that T5 signal, and 2 of them, 2 of them, 1 of them, 2 of them, and 1 of them, leaving a space here, right here, for that diode to be inserted. And that diode will come up in a later step in the instructions. So with that, let's wrap this video up, and I will see you in the next video. Well, if you got to the end of the video, I certainly appreciate it. If you think the video is worth watching, give me a like, a subscription to the channel if you're not already subscribed, always appreciated. And I believe in the next video, we actually jump in and start to solder in ICs. I hope to see you in that video.